Year in, year out, the business was generating a revenue of close to $2.4 to $2.6 million annual revenue every year. I looked at my wife and I said, you don't want to hang around this person.
Do you know you're sitting on $1 million business? And I'm like, okay.
Do you know what that does for a child? You have set that child up. You have pretty much put that child at a level or in a position where he or she is way ahead.
Yeah.
It is a model that works anywhere in the world. It's not exclusive to Nigeria, to Canada, to any country. Felt we wanted more. We wanted options. Battle King was listed for close to $2.5 million.
Why are you adding taxes? You know,
an asset class that plays a huge role in also helping you build generational wealth. The only problem is that there's this misconception a lot of people have that once you just own you're good.
You said generational wealth planning should start the day a child is born.
It is a fantastic way to combine estate planning, financial education, and investment long-term in a solid asset.
Within a relatively short period, you were able to build a 7-figure portfolio in Canada. So what did you understand that most people don't understand? Welcome to Wealth on Your Terms podcast. I'm Tobi, and today's guests have built a 7-figure portfolio through business, investing, and entrepreneurship. Fred is a former senior VP with nearly 15 years in investment banking, specializing in trust and succession planning. And Bimpe is a trained lawyer who began her career at Deloitte before building a global business. Today, they're here to share lessons they've learned about building wealth, spotting opportunities, and creating a lasting financial legacy. Thanks for being here, Fred and Bimpe.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited to have you on because your story is like really inspiring. I've just met a few people that have been able to do or accomplish what you've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time. So let's just talk about like the foundation. You moving to Canada, like you had great careers, you had a successful, thriving business, Bimpe. And Fred, you were in investment banking 15 years, working on like major projects. So what made you decide to like quit that and move to Canada to kind of like start from scratch?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us once again. So I think it just started from a position where we saw ourselves in Nigeria and we felt we wanted more. We wanted options. And when we did the analysis and the research, we found that, okay, one way to give ourselves a lot of options is to try to have some access to some Western country where we could have opportunities to explore other things. So at the time, Canada was one of the countries that came to mind because we had looked into the immigration systems and we had seen that we qualified for it, we were eligible for it. And we also found that the process wasn't that difficult, right? And it was a process that we could even do ourselves without even hiring anybody to do it for us. So it was literally a no-brainer. And we also found that Canada was already a G7 country, right? And having access to a country like that may open up other opportunities for us. And that was the reason why we pretty much, we've never liked a situation where we are restricted. I had always mentioned to my wife that in life, generally, you need options. You need options. Options are very, very important. So if you find yourself boxed to a corner, those options are what might come to play in helping you, have access to the entire world. So that was pretty much the reason why we didn't mind leaving all that behind and coming here. We weren't doing badly, like you mentioned. Nigeria was still a lot better then, compared to what has happened in recent time.
Yeah.
But we weren't still satisfied. We felt there was a lot more for us to explore, and we wanted options.
Yeah, we just needed that access to being global.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. In a short form.
I love
wanted
that.
to be global.
I love that. Because I find that with couples, there's always one person that has the idea first.
Okay.
I'm curious who it was. And maybe someone is more resistant.
Oh, yeah. And I'll say that.
Let's talk about that.
Honestly, Tobi, I didn't want to come.
I could suspect, because of your business and Thrive. Oh,
I didn't want to come. I mean, Nigeria was just, that's pretty much what I've known. I have my family support system. My business was going on fine, regardless of, issues, It's just when you're used to something, you just feel like, okay, it comes, I'll just find a way around it. So I was pretty much comfortable in my zone at the time. And I just didn't see myself moving elsewhere. My business was going on fine. Career for him at the time was going on really well, and we were both just hopeful for the future. I had support system as well.
Sure.
And so this came, and it's like, we need to see beyond what it is at the moment. Just do this. We don't necessarily have to go. We can just start this process. We have it, and then we decide. And with all of that, I frustrated him, actually. I'm like, you want to make me come here? I know how to get you. And then I started writing the IELTS exams, and I just, for some reason, wouldn't put my mind. And I wrote it about 8 times. And every time I did write it, he would, and then he sees that, I didn't pass the test, he's buying another form, and then
Immediately.
and then, by the 6th and the 7th, I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to let this be and just see whatever works from here. And I did pass the test, and I'm so grateful I didn't give up.
Let's just even talk about you both. Like, within a relatively short period, you're able to build a 7-figure portfolio in Canada. So what did you understand that most people don't understand?
Okay. Very good question. So we got here in 2021. The plan was to pretty much continue my banking career here. Along the line, we met a few people who had different mindsets, who inspired us, right?
I was confused.
Who inspired us, and we got talking and pretty much just led us in that direction. And for the first time, we started to think in that direction. So I tell immigrants, who you're talking to is important. It is pretty much the single biggest thing that can shape or determine how you proceed in your new country. So don't take it for granted. Do not attend to it with kids' gloves. You must take it as you must be deliberate, you must be intentional, you must go out of your way to make sure that the people you're talking to, the people you surround yourself with, are people who dream bigger than you. There's this saying, if you're in a room, you're the smartest, you're in the wrong room, right? So always make sure you're the least smartest in the room. And when you apply that test, that immediately will tell you, okay, I'm in the wrong room, I'm in the right room, I need to change my friends and so on. So that was how everything started. And the moment that seed was sown, the next thing was to take immediate action, which is where a lot of people also freeze. When you have the right information, you've surrounded yourself with the right people, but you don't do anything about it. No matter how much information they pass on to you, reliable, valuable information, if you don't do anything with it, it's just going to be an idea in your head forever if you don't do anything with it. So we immediately took steps and started to explore the opportunities here in Canada in that regard. And then we started seeing a lot of opportunities. Now, I'm not going to sit down here and say there wasn't any out of fear or that we just, it was easy. No. I don't think anything good comes easy. If you have to achieve anything, you have to work for it. You have to apply, everything you've got, your time, your resources, your effort to make it happen. But I also believe that when you have a dream and you're trying to achieve that dream and you take steps, even if everything is not in place, I am a strong believer in the fact that the universe has a way of just pulling its might behind you so that it can and helps you to achieve that. But if you don't do anything about it, then it's just, like I said, it sits as an idea in your head. So for us, we are very grateful that, when we look back now, that we took those steps. We continue to ensure that we were surrounded by the right people, right? Some people I remember then had come to us when we just came, and my wife and I had agreed that she was going to continue with her business here. Entrepreneurship, and we were going to expand it. I remember some people who had come to us then and say, what do you want to sell here? You want to do your wig business? Canada is not that kind of place. You better go and dust your CV or do your resume and start to apply for jobs. And I remember one person came in and said exactly that. And when that person left, I looked at my wife and I said, you don't want to hang around this person. Yeah, I remember saying that to her. I said, you don't want to hang around this person, because the more you hang around this person and the person keeps making such statements, somehow it's going to rub off on you eventually, and you don't want that. So we were deliberate about the kind of people we were surrounding ourselves with. Then we also took steps to start networking. So we joined the Oakville Chamber of Commerce because we knew it was an association that brought business people and entrepreneurs together, and even some corporates, right? We deliberately joined that group and started attending meetings, events. We also joined the local YMCA in Oakville.
That's smart, yeah.
Yeah, because we knew in the evenings people come around, to work out, to hang out. So when you put all that together, the mindset, the boldness to take action, going out to network, meeting people who would, even if that person provided just one additional information that you required to take you further, it made a whole lot of difference. And that's pretty much what we did, and that's what we advise people to do today.
Quick one, this podcast is about wealth on your terms, and for a lot of people that includes real estate. I'm a licensed realtor in Ontario, and I help people think strategically about how real estate fits into their overall wealth plan, whether that be buying, investing, selling, renting, or just making smarter decisions. I'm going to be there to guide you through the numbers, ensure you understand the trade-offs and opportunity costs, so you can make informed decisions with confidence. So if you're interested in real estate, check the link in the description box or show notes. And while we're at it, if you're finding value from this podcast, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to hit the follow button and give us a 5-star review. It really goes a long way, and it ensures that we're able to put out more episodes for you, and I really appreciate it. Let's get back into the video. I love that. Bimpe, for your 9 to 5, were you? Because at least for you, you were working 9 to 5 in Nigeria, right?
Yes.
But for you, it's like you had quit
I'd
your
left,
job for a long time. You were already an entrepreneur. So even that thought that someone planted in your head about like you might need to dust your CV and go back to the 9 to 5, like how did that feel for you? Like where did you start from?
Coming in, you're like, yes, I am coming to start my business, to just be an entrepreneur and all that. And then you start to hear, law. I need to add you on the law group. You need to write your NCA.
SCA,
you need to write your bar. You cannot. And then some other person would come. No, you don't have to do that. There's contract management. You don't have to be called to the bar to become a contract manager. And then there's Scrum, and all of those. And then I am confused. And then someone that said to me, "You do not come here and just say that you want to do business. You have to do your structured work, and then the business will just be sort of a side hustle." I was really confused. But, when you have somebody who believes in you so much, and he's like, you can do this, you can put your mind to this, and you can achieve. And then I'm like, if it happens and I go broke, that you're going to be the one to sort me out, pending when I get myself. And it's like, I'm with you all the way. And then we both started this, and I just started to push my business. My eyes, was open to a different side of my business, which was like the medical wigs, hair toppers, and servicing like Caucasians and people different from my regular Africans. So that opened my mind, and I knew that I could do, so much more. And I remember at that time, I had a man, working with his wife to buy a wig. And then, he looked at me and said, do you know you're sitting on $1 million business? And I'm like, okay. At that time, I really
Was
didn't
this a
know.
black man or a Caucasian?
A Caucasian.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, you're sitting on $1 million business. You need to, do the right things to, make sure that you enjoy, and you scale this business. And so I'm like, and so we started to even do more research, and I realized that I was underpricing. Oh. Yeah, because I had not done I hadn't checked what other people at the time were, pricing in that regard. And so he had mentioned, we had checked, and I realized that I was underpricing. And then just shortly after that, I had someone who had come, again and told me, And she was leaving and she looked at me and she's like, you better work on your pricing because you provide way better quality
than people who,
than your competitors and, your price is,
low.
way too low. And so I started looking at that. And even though till now, because for me, I know it's business, but I have the passion side of it. So, but I was able to, just retweak my pricing a bit just to be a bit. And I'm seeing the results.
I love that. We're going to even dive further into that soon. But I think one thing I'm getting is like mindset is very important.
Absolutely.
And I feel like with you, Fred, I'm going to talk about you worked on the trustee team for Dangote Refinery.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Being a part of that type of like large scale project, what did you learn from it, like mindset wise?
So even before we did the Dangote Refinery job, so I started working then they used to call it First Trustees. And then it went through some name changes and everything. Eventually, we were known as FBN Quest Trustees, which was under the First Bank Group, right? I was privileged to have met a lot of people, important people, working in big companies, doing big things. But we were on the service provider side, right? So, but I knew that all that while we were working for them, because I had the privilege of seeing, going into details in terms of what we're doing, I knew that what they were doing is something that if one puts his or her mind to it, you can actually do it. But, I think that the environment we were operating in at the time didn't really give that impetus for one to actually take steps.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but it was building up the mindset. What it was also doing in me, which I did not realize at the time until we got here, was that it was building up some kind of courage to see big things and not freeze. Yes. I didn't know that at the time, to be honest, because sometimes when I even look back and see some of the things we've done here, I'm like, how did I do that? Did I do that? So, but being in the midst of people who were working on such transactions gave me I learned from a lot of people. The experience was gotten from there. We had a good brand. The First Bank brand was also a good brand. So the brand itself opened a lot of doors for us. I remember when we're trying to get some businesses and so on, when they hear First Bank or we're from the First Bank group, the doors pretty much just open.
Yeah.
So then, I had bosses and, people that I was also looking up to in the workplace that also trained me. I attended a lot of trainings, both local and foreign trainings. I learned so much from there. And over the years, because I was there for like 15 years, like you said, it's sort of molded me and prepared me. Now I look back and I see that this was just God's way of just preparing me for what I was eventually coming to do. Because at the time, I didn't realize it, to be honest. I didn't realize it. But it was just preparing me so that when I eventually found myself here, I could easily spot opportunities here and then leverage it on all the things that I had learned, the trainings and everything, to do exactly what I'm doing today.
I love that because it's like sometimes you're in a season and you just don't know what the season is for.
Exactly.
And you should just like try to learn or like at least store it somewhere.
Exactly.
Because in the future, everything will just like make sense when you get there.
Exactly. And I think it's important to mention this, and the reason why I need to mention is so that whatever stage of life that you find yourself, if you're there per time, just learn the much you can learn, train yourself the best you can, take advantage of all the opportunities you have to train yourself, because what you know, nobody can take it away from you. And the reason why I say this is when we eventually moved here to Canada and I found myself working on those acquisitions, which I know we're going to come to later on, I didn't have to hire any professional or advisory team or some expert to represent me or to act on my behalf. I did everything myself.
Except for lawyers and
accountants.
Yeah.
Except for lawyers and accountants. Yeah. But every other thing, I pretty much handled it myself. And when I look back now, I see that it was the training I got from the First Bank Group.
15 years.
15 years.
15
years. The training I got. And I'm very grateful to the bank, to my bosses, to my colleagues, all the trainings, everything. Because it really built me. And it also prepared me to take on big things without fear, right? So for everybody watching, wherever you are, there's always a reason why you're there. Just stay there, be patient, learn what you can learn. And when the time comes, you would be grateful for what you've learned.
I love that. So typically, as you have also like mentioned, a lot of immigrants, when we come here, we just think, okay, 9 to 5 immediately. But you guys did the opposite, the risky thing, like entrepreneurship, full swing. And like you've said, entrepreneurship is like one of the best ways to build wealth in Canada, like especially in Canada.
Oh, yes.
Tell me why.
Okay. So one of the things we did as well early on was to study the system here, the environment. A tree cannot grow better than the quality of the soil that it is planted in. What that means is your environment matters. So in anything you want to do, you have to study your environment first. Understand the system. And that's why right now, when I'm doing my consulting and I'm mentoring people, I say, look, if you're moving to a new country or if you're trying to get somewhere new, don't rush. Don't rush to do things quickly. First thing you need to do is to research. Understand the system, understand what makes that system work, understands the peculiarities of the system, right? And then when you have that understanding, you're most likely going to take better decisions because you're informed. You're not just taking decisions because, out of the blue, no. So the reason why I say one of the best ways to attain financial freedom here in Canada is by being a business owner. Canada is arguably, and we all know, you can look it up. Canada is arguably one country in the world that has a very high tax regime.
Yes.
Yes. There's a lot of taxes. Now, when you look at building wealth, I don't think there's anybody who takes building wealth seriously that does not pay attention to taxes. You have to pay attention to taxes because it is one way most of the income that you're supposed to use to build your wealth can be taken away from you legally, right? So once you understand the taxation system, the next question, and you see that Canada is like that when it comes to taxation, the tax systems here. The next thing you should be asking yourself is, how do I then position myself in order to, create wealth or build wealth legally? Legally. And you wouldn't think too long to realize that business ownership is one of such ways. And I'll give you some very simple examples in comparison between doing a 9 to 5, for instance. When you're involved in a 9 to 5 and they give you your paycheck, tax is deducted at source. So you don't even get to see it. The reverse is the case as a business owner. So all your expenses are taken out, whatever you can write off expenses that align with the business that you're doing. And then whatever is left is what you present at the end of the day. That's one reason. That should immediately tell you that for the tax system to be drafted or couched in that manner, it means there's some kind of preferential treatment that the government is affording or giving to business owners. That's one example. And the second example is the fact that when you're involved in the 9 to 5, right, you're literally carrying the bulk of if you look at the marginal tax rates, the higher you earn, the more you pay, right?
Right.
So if you're earning a lot of money in salaries, what it therefore means is that you most likely be paying higher taxes. In my own view, it sort of sounds like some kind of disincentive to aim for bigger things in the workplace, in the 9 to 5 space. Because somebody can easily just sit down and say, so if now I'm earning, let's say, $100,000 per annum. So if I go and do some courses and everything, and I get a better job, and the job is now supposed to pay me $250,000, meaning I'm going to pay more tax. It doesn't make any sense. So let me just forget about it. So it sort of serves as some kind of disincentive to want to aim for higher positions and all that, which in my view is not the best place you want to be. Flip it over to business. You are always incentivized to do more. Because as you're doing more, you're not only helping the economy, you're employing more people, you're better off managing your taxes, and you can plan,
Yeah.
right? You can plan better, which also sets you up to achieve that financial freedom that we're talking about on a faster level. So for me, and I can give you some other examples. So for me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Here in Canada, you understand the system, then you work towards putting your place in a position where you can take full advantage of those tax benefits and, of course, attain financial freedom way, way faster.
I love that. And speaking about business, like with Bimpe, you had been doing entrepreneurship in Nigeria. And I feel like with your niche, like selling wigs, obviously the story you would hear from people is, oh, how many customers would you have in Canada? Like how many Black people are here? Everyone already has a wig, and
Oh, yeah. That's
people in
the
Canada are not like, it's different if you're in US, because I find that with US consumers, they buy.
They buy,
In
yeah,
Canada,
they buy.
like people
have
take
to
their time to buy. It's like
it through.
yeah. So how did you, because typically, like what I find is people would still serve their current demographics. But I feel like you did, like this was like such a strategic move to expand, like you're in a different area, like you're in a different country. How do you also serve the majority and you're not just like sticking to like the minority in terms of that, and you can actually scale? So just talk, let me know about it. Like, how did you get into like medical wigs? What was he thinking and all of that?
Okay, so when I came, I didn't even have an idea. You know, I would see like Caucasians and, you know, Middle Eastern and all, and I just Asian people, and I just imagined that, oh, they've got beautiful hair. It's their hair and all. So mindset was I was coming here to sell wigs to my people.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, I'm able to expand that. And then I realized that my like first month, I started getting messages like, we're not going to pay you in Canadian dollars. We're going to pay you in Naira.
Nigerian
Wait.
Naira. Nigerian Naira, yes.
And I'm like,
Serious?
I have moved. I live in Canada. Why would you pay me in Naira? They're like, we're going to pay you in Naira. Why is yours this expensive? This is how much this person, why are you adding taxes? You know, all of those questions. And then Frederick and I sat down and he said, we need to sit down. You need to understand something, that you need to move outside of your community people. When you move outside of your community people, you serve other people. They see how well you've done in that area. They will be the one to look for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And thankfully, I was able to talk with, you know, a good friend, you know, who had mentioned, they had come in from England at the time, and she had mentioned to me that, do you know, people do this, and you could actually, you know, just look into this, the medical wigs, hair toppers, wigs for, you know, women different from Nigerians. And so I started looking at it, and I realized that for them, it is beyond the aesthetics. It's beyond fashion. It is more a necessity. And I'm like, if this is a necessity, then they would appreciate and value, you know, my products, my service. And I started putting my heart and my soul towards this. And Frederick supported me, and, you know, we just kept moving. We looked at, there were some issues along the way, you know, and we went back to the drawing board. I did proper research. I had several meetings. I checked quality testing and all of that. And I realized that these people, they've been looking for me, because as compared to other people, you know, they just feel like I give them that time, you know, I give them that attention, and then most importantly, the value for what they're buying. And so that started, and it just kept getting better. And then one person would tell another person, another parent would tell another parent at the children's hospital. An oncology doctor would mention to a patient.
Wow.
A dermatologist will mention, and you know, they just kept coming, and it kept getting better. And then when it started growing, and you know, people even in the community started telling each other about it, my Nigerian people started looking for me. And
And she didn't. One thing she also missed out was that somewhere along the line, I think that was sometime last year, the town of Oakville
yeah.
gave her a special award for the impact that, you know, based on what she's doing. based on the impact of what she's doing and the positive impact it has had on the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because this is like a business and also like
A ministry.
Yes, that's like
It's a ministry.
that's the perfect word.
We don't see, truth be told, we don't really see her business as a business completely. We have come to the realization that her own business in particular is a ministry. Because, I mean, you can speak. Let me allow her speak to it.
So in some
Maybe
instance,
Bimpe is humble.
Yeah, she's humble. I need she needs to speak to it as well. Yeah.
in some instance, I would be like your therapist, you know, I would be, you know, that person that would pray with you, you know, and then, you know, some emotions and some, you know, downtime sometimes when you've met someone, you've created that bond, that relationship. So I have a community of women, you know, that we have actually become family.
Yeah.
And then you just get a news from a family member that they passed, you know. And this has not happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. But I mean, it comes with, you know, it comes with the dynamics of the business. But what is most important for me is the fact that I'm able to, you know, at the time when they were alive, bring joy and smiles to their face and the faces of their family members. And to me, that's
Fulfilling.
That's very fulfilling. That's the most important. I mean, the business side is good, I must say. I wouldn't.
Yeah, like you have to pay bills. Like you have to.
I wouldn't. You know, it's good. You know, for medical wigs and hair toppers, the profit margin it's just easy because you know it's not as it's not as time consuming as if I have to start from scratch making like our kind of wigs. And it's just it's the quality is really high end, but returns, I must say, is good.
That's good to know. So typically, like your clients are people who have like health issues,
Yes.
right? So that's why they need.
Yes. So it ranges from you're going through chemotherapy treatments, you are experiencing lupus, alopecia, hormonal hair loss. A lot of women losing hair from pregnancy. Perimenopause, all of those things, yeah. Or even, it could be genetic or hereditary alopecia, yeah.
So from the business side of things, I feel like this is such a good example because I know it's not everyone that's like trying to think of like creating wigs or like making wigs, but it's just like if you have a business, try to think of how you can service people who need it, where it's a need, not a want.
Exactly, a need.
Because when it's a want,
you can get it anywhere.
it's like,
It's a need.
yeah. And I'm sure in some cases, it's even maybe insurance that might cover.
Oh yeah,
to
A lot of times, you would have them, they would have you prepare like a structured receipt, and then they attach their doctor's note, and then they send it to the insurance. Yeah.
Wow. Like, I love the ministry side of it. It's like, honestly speaking. So now talking about like the other side of business, like business acquisition, I want to say this. So according to Business Development Bank of Canada, over the next decade, we're going to see one of the largest wealth transfers via business acquisition. Yep. You've bought multiple businesses yourself and you encourage other people to pay attention to this space.
Correct.
Why do you think this is going to be one of the biggest wealth transfer?
Okay. So that's a very good question. The reason why I think it is going to be a huge opportunity is because, like you said, the Business Development Bank of Canada has already done their research.
Yes.
And by the way, for those who don't know, the Business Development Bank of Canada is similar to the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. It is a government bank that was set up or established for the purpose of helping folks to either acquire businesses, start businesses, sustain businesses through, different things. So that's their mandate. So they live and breathe that. So when that kind of institution comes out to make this statement, people who understand should pay close attention because that's an opportunity right there. So Canada, as we know, it has a certain kind of demography. So when you talk about the seniors, they're increasing in number. One of the reasons, if you even sit down and ask yourself, why did Canada even come up with their immigration programs? You would find that one of the major reasons why they did that is because they have also seen that if we don't do this, quickly. We're going to find ourselves in a situation where a large chunk of our population would have aged and not eligible to work anymore, can't even work anymore.
Yeah.
And then you know what that means for the government when it comes to revenue.
No money. Yep.
Yeah. So I always tell people it's a mutually beneficial thing that they're doing, right? So, but pay attention to the trend. When you pay attention to the trend, then you start to drill down further. Then you see that a lot of these people who are getting off work or trying to retire have also a lot of them have set up businesses for decades, 20, 30, 40 years and so on. I met somebody a few months ago, and he told me this year is going to be like 51 years since he's been running his business. 51 years.
That's a long time.
Yes, he's even getting ready to retire. The only problem is that he said, what is he going to be doing?
Yeah.
That's what he said to me, because I said to him, why are you still, the guy is over 80. He's over 80. And I said, why are you still working? He's a Caucasian. He said, why are you still working? He said, the problem is if he stops working, what is he going to be doing? So, but the thought is already there.
Yeah.
He's already thinking about it because he knows he can't work forever. So for immigrants and newcomers coming here, pay attention to that trend. If the Bank of Canada, a Business Development Bank of Canada said it, pay attention, because there's a reason why they're saying that. They didn't even stop at saying, hundreds of thousands of businesses are going to change hands. They're saying wealth transfer.
Yeah.
It's going to amount to a lot of wealth transfer from the elderly seniors to the younger generation. So once you hear that, then immediately start to take steps to position yourself in such a way that you can take advantage of those opportunities. I am a stickler for going for existing businesses because I have done it and I've benefited from it and I see the benefits. When you want to start a business from scratch here in Canada, they have a lot of laws and rules that sometimes it's not the easiest thing to, navigate your way through. Now, if you're going to go through all that and spend money, spend time, spend resources, why do you want to go through all that? Isn't it better for you to just look for something that is already established, working, systems in place, employees in place? They have the necessary licenses they need to run those businesses, and just try to acquire those businesses. Now, one of the reasons why I think looking back now, one of the reasons why I pretty much just went in on that basis was the fact that when I was working in the bank as well, we used to work for foreign companies who wanted a stake in the Nigerian market, and they would come in, engage us and some other professionals, and ask us to help them acquire businesses in Nigeria. Yes, so we did that. We were doing that for companies in the bank. We were doing that. Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I thought it was like a concept and just the
we were
Western.
doing it's not. It's not. It's nothing new. What we're doing is nothing new. People have been doing it for, since I can remember. Mm-hmm. So, and we acted on behalf of these foreign companies numerous times in the bank. And they were just interested in acquiring local companies. So the rationale behind it is that they don't want to go through all that hurdle, starting something from scratch. They're looking for customers, they're building they don't want to go through all that. They have the funds, they want to acquire something, they've done their research. In fact, before those foreign companies even come to us, they've already identified the targets.
Oh.
So that tells you they've done their homework. They're probably already talking, they've opened discussions with the targets, and there's some kind of understanding already going on. Mm-hmm. And they just come in, engage professionals that they need to work with them, and they acquire the target, and that's it.
I'm curious, typically, what type of businesses are they like?
There was,
what type of
we did a lot of that in oil and gas.
Okay, makes sense.
We did a lot of that in manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
Manufacturing. We did a lot of that in FMCG, fast consumer moving goods.
Yeah.
Different sectors of the economy, telecoms.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can mention what the popular telecoms company in Nigeria, Econet. Eventually went through several acquisitions until it became Airtel. So it is a model that works anywhere in the world. It's not exclusive to Nigeria. It's not exclusive to Canada. It's not exclusive to any country. If you find yourself in Europe, let's say you find yourself in Germany tomorrow, for instance, it's a model that will work in Germany, model that will work in the States, anywhere. So It therefore means that for immigrants, and I speak to immigrants specifically because we are newcomers here, right? And because our mindset, most immigrants come with the mindset of, oh, it's not possible here. We're new immigrants. Let's just try and get a 9 to 5 and just play safe. I am trying to change that mindset. And I'm trying to say to them, let us change that mindset. Let us take advantage of those opportunities because they're still there. The BDC said it's going to happen within 5-10 years or so.
Yes.
So the opportunities are still there till today. As we speak, the opportunities are there. It is only those who have that mindset and are now looking at those opportunities that can benefit from it. You're not going to find what you're looking for. You can only find what you're looking for, no matter how you search for it. Even the Bible says when you seek, that's when you find, right? So let us position ourselves. Let us surround ourselves with people who can help us achieve those objectives. And last but not the least, let us take action.
The action is very important because we can sit down.
I can't overemphasize that.
Speaking about action,
Yes.
let's talk about your own business acquisition. So you landed in Canada October 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And you acquired a business December 2021.
Yeah, by December. That was the first one we did, yes.
Like, what the heck? Like, honestly speaking, like, such a bold and courageous move. Like, tell me about it.
Okay. So we landed on October 6th, 2021. We're literally just trying to settle down and all that when a family friend of ours came to visit us. I think that was about a week or so after we landed. So it was around the second week of October 2021. And we started talking and he asked me what I was doing. I told him what I was doing. But then at the time, I was still trying to write some exams. I'd registered for some exams. I was trying to study and write for those exams. I was also trying to get a job because I'd sent out a few resumes. I was ready. And we started talking and then told him. Then he then said, yes, but he then guided me and said, this is another area that there are opportunities in the business world, and not just going to start a business, acquiring businesses, and that it is an opportunity that is there, and that let us also pay attention to that. And he didn't just stop there. He even told me there was one business already that was on ground, and that if I was interested, that we could even go, I think the next day or so, to visit, to see the owner or something like that. And that's why I always talk about action, because within 24 hours, we were there at the seller's office.
We
had initiated moves and went to see him. We reached out to the broker. We spoke to the broker, had meetings with the broker. And the rest, they say, is history. By December, it was done. Same for Bathtub King, the home improvement business. When we acquired DriveWise in December of 2021, I still thought I still held on to my plan to get a job. So I was still applying for jobs and everything. In January of 2022, and you have to, like I said, you have to be very observant. I had cause to deal with some trades, handymen, plumbers, electricians, and I immediately started seeing the gap in that area. It's either you couldn't find them, or even when you found them, they weren't that good.
Yeah.
So I then said to my wife, I said, it won't be a bad idea to look for something that has to do with home improvements, right? And immediately I spoke to her about it. I just went, I started checking. I started looking for it. I looked for it for about a month, I think sometime in February. I then stumbled on Bathtub King. It was listed for sale. I looked at the narration there. It had been available he had operated for over 40 years. The owner was trying to retire. They put some financials, just summary of some financials and all that there. And I said to my wife, come and see this business. And when we saw it at first, the figures were daunting. Figures were daunting. We didn't want to. But I just said to her, I said, look, let's just. Oh,
you were hesitant about it.
She was hesitant. Yeah, she was hesitant. I said the figures were quite overwhelming. So I said, but let's just try. You never know. Let's try. Within 48 hours of seeing Bathtub King listed, we were in the seller's office. Just the same model we applied with DriveWise too. Because, looking back, sometimes I even wonder, what kind of guts?
Your bias for action is like next.
What kind of guts?
It's always.
And I said,
that.
Within 24 to 48 hours, we contacted the broker. Broker arranged the meeting for us with the seller. The broker couldn't even make it to the meeting. So he just gave us the address and we just went straight to Hamilton to meet with the seller. and we met with the seller. The rest, as they say, is history as well.
History.
So it is, I think, and this is why I cannot stop overemphasizing the importance of taking action. What's the worst that's going to happen? What's the worst that will happen? It won't work out the way you planned it. You pick yourself up.
At least you tried.
At least you tried. You move on. You learn. Take the lessons.
This is true.
And you move on.
Apply it.
One thing I can guarantee anybody who takes action is that no matter how much you fail, one opportunity is going to come where you will succeed. And the interesting thing is that when you succeed, every other thing doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. When you succeed, even if it's just once, all the failures, nobody even remembers them, right? Abraham Lincoln ran for the US presidency, I think about 9 times or so. He failed like 8 times, but the 9th or whichever one he succeeded in, he eventually succeeded, right? So never give up. The moment you see opportunities, as long as you're committed and you're convinced that that is an opportunity, don't ever give up. Like I said, but remember, surround yourself with like-minded people.
Sure.
Surround yourself with people that can challenge you. Surround yourself with people who dream big. Surround yourself with people who have vision, that can see far into the future and say, if I take this step now, I can see the trend, how things are going. But if I take steps now, by the time we get to the future, I would have been positioned, right? So that's what I encourage people to do, and they should do it, even like I always say, they should do it afraid.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as if we weren't afraid. Yeah, she was afraid. To be honest, even with the boldness, and it wasn't as if I didn't have some kind of fear. But just do it. Just do it. Just do it. You will never know if you don't try. So if you do it and it succeeds, how about that?
Yeah.
So just do it.
Yeah.
I love that. Even just talking about so what's DriveWise?
DriveWise is DriveWise is driving school.
Driving school.
Okay.
It's a driving school.
So
DriveWise
why did you go the driving school route?
Yes, valid question as well. So one of the reasons why we felt the driving school business was a business model that we liked and we needed to jump on quickly was the fact that one of the things we look out for when we're trying to analyze the business is what's the desire, what's the need like? Do people have an option as to whether is it a want or a need, right? And we've made distinctions between wants and needs. A need is something you cannot do without. You're either compelled by law, by rules, regulation, you have to do it. So for the driving school, the way we analyzed it was such that we were immigrants that had just come in. We knew what we needed to do in order to get licensed to drive here. We knew that you can't drive in the province of Ontario, for instance, until you're 16, right? Even though you're a Canadian,
Yeah.
you can't just jump into a vehicle and drive. Driving is a serious matter because it's literally a matter of life and death. If you do not know how to drive and you get on the road, you're not only endangering your life, you're endangering the life of other road users. So it is a very serious matter. So we said to ourselves, we said, this is a need. It's not a want. So whether people like it or not, they must want this service because they need it. So we saw the driving school business as something that was more like a low-hanging fruit. A low-hanging fruit that we had just come, we hadn't even spent up to a month, and we needed to start looking for assets. We clearly understood the difference between assets and liability. So we needed something that would pretty much be an income generator for us.
And the interesting part with the driving school is it cuts across. So
Yep.
you have the young 16-year-old who's just finishing high school and, would disturb their parents to drive.
Yeah.
So we service those. We have seniors.
We service seniors.
Over time, they would be required to,
Oh, really? Okay.
to renew their license. We have truck drivers,
Corporate drivers.
commercial drivers. And then you have like the immigrants, new immigrants just coming in who would require,
service too.
the service too. So it's a very wide, so like what Frederick and I say all the time, we're like, it's like something that keeps bringing in money every day,
Because people turn
People
16
always
every
need
day.
Absolutely.
New immigrants come in every day. So you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and it's like the business already had like an established
Yes.
clientele.
Exactly.
customers.
And then people need to either drive into province or out of,
And
trucks and all of that.
Canada doesn't, the GTA, the Halton region, I would say, because the business is located in Milton, the Halton region doesn't have a very robust public transportation
true, yeah.
system. So everybody, more
have to
people
drive.
drive.
Yeah.
Most people drive, right? So we put all that together and we said, okay, so this is something that, since this is something that people will always need, then for us we were sold on it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. It's like the Halton region has a group of people that have money where it's like when their children turn age 16,
yes.
they can
yeah.
actually afford to buy cars. For
Oh, yes.
It's a thing.
So as soon as you turn 16, you're
Oh,
buying
yes.
cars.
They won't
So
even let you rest until
yeah. So
and then the government requires in class, so you have to come into class
Like
for
a school,
10
it's
weeks.
a proper school.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, for like 16-year-olds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the
for
16-year-olds, they come
So,
into class. Yeah.
So you come into class and then you do, in car where you
with the
go
instructor,
around.
you
Yes.
drive, yeah.
So with the in car, you're able to also, get like really good insurance because you know that you've
Insurance
come.
discounts.
Yes. And the good part is we have this simulator. It's like a make-believe car. So they get really excited about it. They get comfortable, on that simulator, and that makes them, want to go on the road. So it's an interesting...
It's an interesting
I
one,
love that.
yeah.
I've never seen like the simulator effect. And I'm thinking if I was a parent and
Yeah.
my child just turned 16,
Yeah.
I want them to use the simulator
yes.
first.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Before you
So
go on the road.
we train them on how to drive in winter, and how to drive in summer, how to be respectful to people walking, and all of those things. It's interesting.
I love that. So now talking about, because I've said this to you guys before, like when we talk about real estate, I think people have an idea of like the benefits of real estate and then the potential revenue from real estate. Like when you talk to people, is it that their negative cash flow? Or when their positive cash flow is like maybe $1,000, we know that you maybe need like 5 properties to be able to cover your 9 to 5 income or so.
Yes.
It's not like we want property. So with business, it's just hard to put things into perspective in terms of like what revenue could look like. And I know it really depends on the business. Like
Yes.
different businesses
Depends
have
on
their
business,
different like
correct.
profit margin and all that. So I'm just curious, what is like, you've seen different deals.
Yes.
If you can give numbers
idea.
just to put things into perspective, because
Okay.
I'm also thinking about like
Oh, okay.
purchasing a business.
Okay.
And I know people have these questions. It's like,
oh, yes. Okay, so I can give you, I
Rough
can use,
range, yeah.
Bathtub
Yeah.
King, I can give you
Okay,
the numbers
yeah.
for Bathtub King because that's my business and we, worked on it directly as well. So when Bathtub King was listed for sale, it was listed for sale with a view to acquiring everything. The property out of which it was operating was also put together. Everything was being sold.
also like even the property,
Even
like
everything.
Oh,
Everything was being sold. The inventory, the property, the business itself, goodwill, all that stuff. So Bathtub King was listed for close to $2.5 million.
Okay, now I see why you say it was scary because
Yeah, it was listed with close to $2.5 million. Yeah, like I said, now sometimes when I look back, I say, okay, but so then we eventually, met with the seller and then started to negotiate and everything. When we're reviewing the financials of Bathtub King, one of the things that caught our attention was the fact that year in, year out, the business was generating a revenue of close to between $2.4 to $2.6 million annual revenue every year. That immediately caught my own attention because I'm like,
catch my attention.
I caught my attention. I'm like, business that is generating this kind of revenue. Then we also looked at their expenses. We looked at what they call the EBITDA. It's
think that-
earnings before interest, depreciation, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. We looked at their EBITDA. It was good. We looked at what they call the SDE, the seller's discretionary earnings. It's more like a cash and non-cash benefit that the owner of a business enjoys from the business.
okay.
We looked at all that. It made a lot of sense in terms of the numbers. And which was the reason why I said to her, I said, look, even though the listing price itself was daunting, but look at how much this business is generating. So imagine if we can pull this off. We don't ever need to, if we can decide we're not working, we can pretty much work for ourselves and decide we're not working for anybody. So let us go for it and let us just try. So, like I said, it wasn't as if everything was in place, all the monies. We had saved some monies, we had some money saved and all that. But it wasn't, like I said, everything wasn't figured out. But you don't need to wait for everything to be figured out. I don't think there's anybody who actually waits for everything to be perfect before they take action or take any steps. And like I said, once you take steps and you start to make progress little by little, it's almost as if, the universe just starts to lend some kind of support and, facilitates everything you're doing, your efforts, to crown it with success eventually. Then, aside from that, even if anybody is going to assist you, or you're going to go to a bank, or you're going to go to somebody to support you, to investors, or whoever you decide to go to, how is anybody going to take you seriously if you cannot prove to them that you yourself are serious? What am I trying to say? If you don't go with something tangible, like in writing, to show or to prove to that person or to even to the bank that I have gone this far with regard to this transaction, nobody's going to give you a dime. Nobody. So I tell people, don't really focus on the money part first. I'm not saying it's not important, right?
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You get scared when you over focus on the money part.
Oh, yes.
That's what scares you. It's not the business itself that's scaring you. It's in your head.
Where will I get this money
Where will I
from?
get this money from?
Yeah.
So the moment you think about it that way, you are defeated in your mind already. And once you're defeated in your mind, I promise you, you will not do anything. You will not call anybody. You will not send any email to anybody. You will not take a trip to the office, to the broker's office or the sellers to meet with them. You're not going to do anything because psychologically speaking, and this is the way human beings are wired and created by God, the moment you are defeated in your mind, the mind is the only thing that God has deposited in human beings that allows you to dream without limits. We can sit here in this studio and I can imagine myself in the Bahamas in my mind. There's no restriction whatsoever. But when you allow restrictions in that same mind, that I promise you, because it's whatever you think. Remember the saying that your thoughts, from your thoughts to action, from the action, all that stuff. I can't remember how it's pretty much said. But so that is why you have to guard your mind very jealously, because whatever you cannot encapsulate in your mind, then there's no way you can. It's not going to materialize. Never. My pastor always says something. Pastor Sam Adeyemi is always saying something that is in relation to what I'm talking about. He says, even if God has blessed you, right? Like in the Bible, God had pretty much promised Abraham all the blessings, father of nations and everything. If you don't take the steps to bring that blessing to reality, my pastor says your blessings will just be hanging in the air. They will just be hanging in the air, suspended in the air. And God will just fold his hand and just be looking at you like this. You'll be praying and fasting and hoping. He has done his own part. The rest is now, you need to do your own part. And how do you do your own part? Take steps, bold steps, apply faith, do it. Like we said earlier on, if you don't try, you won't know.
Right.
Just do it and be bold.
Yeah, and I must add something too. Whilst you're, making that steps or planning towards doing this, it is also very important to make sure that, like for us, we had to sacrifice so much just to be able to, make these things happen. We had to, a lot of things that we had to let go, to make sure that these acquisitions also happened. So you have to be deliberate about, putting things together for yourself, just so when these opportunities come, you're somewhat ready, like you're able to at least save meaningfully or invest meaningfully. Because when these opportunities do come, the banks want to know, what do you have? What can you offer? And then you can sit to say, or your investors, you can say, I do have this amount of money and I'm hoping to. So whilst you're thinking and trying to, just make sure to start putting things aside. You might have to sacrifice a bit of the holidays, the shoes and the bags, and, maybe some of those dining out and all of that, just to be able to make these things happen.
She's talking about planning, pretty much.
Yeah,
Planning.
yeah. I love
That's pretty
that.
much what she's talking
So
about.
someone might hear, like, be watching now. I'm like, oh, I want to buy a business. They might check business websites, like I think buy biz
Biz by
or something
itself.
like
Biz
that.
by itself. Biz by itself.
I was checking it some days ago. I'm like,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, where do I get this money from? So what are like funding opportunities that are out there for people?
We talked about BDC earlier on.
Yes.
And their mandate by the government. Because the government is interested in businesses, so the government set up BDC. BDC is there to also support such projects. And unlike commercial banks, they are also very flexible. They're also very flexible. Some things the commercial banks might not entertain, BDC will entertain it because BDC's mandate. BDC is trying to, make sure their mandate is brought to reality.
Yeah.
Right? So BDC is another way you can get funding. The commercial banks, of course, are also there. You can also work with the commercial banks to get funding. My wife spoke about investors. I will add another one, friends and family.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Friends and family can also help, Then there's another one they call, which is, for me, a huge strategy. There's another one called seller financing. We used seller financing in both transactions.
Okay.
Seller financing, for those who do not understand, means where you make an offer to buy a business from the seller and you agree with the seller that either a portion of the purchase price or all of the purchase price is given to you as a loan by the seller for a specific tenure at a specific interest rate. So in other words, the seller is your bank.
Yeah.
The seller becomes your bank. It is a strategy that I will always advocate for because it makes the process easier. Even if you don't get everything, but at least you get a chunk of it, you get something from the seller. What it does is that even if you get a portion of it, it automatically reduces the amount that you were supposed to go and raise maybe through a bank or through some other source, which in my view makes it easier for you. So seller financing is key, and sellers are usually willing to allow it because they also benefit from it. So what I do, but the only small caveat I will put here is that in order to present it to a seller, there are strategies with which you can use to present it to a seller, such that the seller sees the benefits in it and doesn't think that you are the only one benefiting from it, right? So seller financing is huge as well. So these are some ways you can deal with the financing part. But in all those cases, maybe apart from the seller financing part, in all those examples that we gave, you must prove to whoever you're going to meet for financing that you have taken steps up to a certain stage and that you have something tangible in your hand before they would even pay attention to you.
Right. I'm curious for like interest in seller financing.
Yes.
Just obviously I know it will vary, but like that compared to like BDC loan versus bank, is it like the same range?
The seller financing is usually lower.
It's
Oh,
more-
that's
Yes. It's
Good.
a
Yeah,
win-win.
that's
At
like
the end of it, it's usually lower.
perfect.
Oh, yes,
Like-
it's usually lower. Don't forget that sellers see their business as their legacy.
True.
So they're also willing to help you, who's trying to acquire that business, to continue their legacy. So they'll be happy to assist you
Make
in
things easy.
that way. They're happy to do it. So
Quick pause before we jump back into the episode. This podcast is about building wealth on your terms, and for a lot of people, that includes real estate. So if you're interested in real estate and want to connect, check the link in the description box or show notes. If you find this podcast valuable and you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe button. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a follow and leave a 5-star review for us. No, that's true. Let's even talking about that. A lot of these sellers you had experience in succession planning.
yes.
A lot of these sellers ideally should have like passed their businesses to their children, right?
Yes.
So what mistakes do you see people make when they're building wealth? Like you're building wealth, right? Both of you right now. What mistakes do you see that people make when they're building wealth and they're not thinking about the next generation or passing the legacy down?
Okay. So one very common one that I see is, and I think it was something that was very common when we were growing up during our own time with our parents. Money was one topic that our parents never really discussed openly with us. They never really taught us how to see money and how to treat money and how to deal with money. So we pretty much started learning it as we were just growing up, just randomly. So that's one mistake. Today, we have young kids. We teach them they know what money is.
Oh, yeah.
They know they're supposed to save. They have piggy banks. They know from the piggy bank, so they know there's a difference between saving and investing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so they save when people give them money or we give them monies for us, anything, right? They
Or the
take a
tooth fairy
portion,
brings
or the
tooth
tooth
fairy.
fairy, or the tooth fairy. They know they have their piggy bank, so they go and put their monies in their piggy banks. After a while, when the money has gotten to a certain number, and then say, okay, it's time to invest this money now. They now ask, what is investing? I then tell them, investing means you want to put your money somewhere that it can grow without you really having to do anything.
Yeah.
So our kids now understand. So sometimes my daughter comes to me and says,
She's calculating.
and says,
What's
"Hey,
that?
Daddy, please, how much is our money in our investment now?" My daughter comes and asks me that question. And I open the computer and I show her.
Oh,
Yes, I show her. I said,
Yes.
your money was X amount before. You can see it's growing. So that is investing. So one mistake, like you said, is we need to be very open with our kids. Let them understand money from a very early age. Let them know the difference between saving. Let them know the difference between saving and investment. Let them also know how to treat money. Let them know that money is just a means of exchange, that the real wealth is in ideas and how you, and value. The ideas and the value, how you give value. Money is just simply a means of exchange. When you give value, then money comes to you. So it is the value that attracts the money. So if you also explain that to people and people understand it, and families have that very open discussion, what you're doing in effect, especially for the younger kids, is that you're teaching them very early on that this is how I can make money. I don't need to focus on the money itself. All I need to focus on is just the value. What kind of value can I give? Knowing fully well that when I give value, the money comes. So that's the first mistake. The second one is estate planning. Estate planning. So as you're teaching your kids and teaching, your immediate family members on the importance of money and everything, you must also start to build an estate plan. An estate plan is a plan that involves how you're going to legally transfer all what you have worked for, your assets and all that, to your dependents or your children. Some of those tools of estate planning, as we all know, wills, trusts.
Yeah.
Some very wealthy family usually have what they call the family office, where they appoint people to help them manage all those things and everything. So estate planning is critically important because it helps to ensure that you protect what you have built over years, asset protection. And that eventually when, the time comes, you're saving on taxes, because if you don't have a will, for instance, if you don't have a solid estate plan, you're probably going to pay a lot of, or you would have left problems for the children, because before they can take over those assets, they will end up paying a lot of taxes. Right? So having a solid estate plan and knowing the kind of assets you have so that you can take an informed decision as to whether to put them under a trust or whether to put them under wills, you must know and understand the difference, right? The last but not the least, I would say, is another mistake people make is not understanding the way life insurance works. Life insurance is also important because that also helps to secure, right? Things you've worked for a long time, and you need to make sure you get the right one. I know there are a lot of insurance policies and all that out there, and people sometimes get what they really didn't need because they weren't properly advised. So you need to understand the one you need that will help you secure your assets, help to ensure that your family is well taken care of when the time comes, and they are not running helter-skelter trying to sort things out for themselves at that point.
Yeah. And I must also add that whilst you're pursuing, creating wealth, you must also be deliberate in making sure that your kids are somewhat involved, in how you run your business.
Correct.
They might necessarily not follow that path, but you're you're imbibing in them good work ethics. You're imbibing in them hard work and discipline. So it just make them interested. Just so as you are moving on, they can then say, you know what, I like what you do. I want to step in, or I want to do my own thing, but I like, the culture that I've learned. I like the things that I've learned whilst, observing, my parents. So we should, regardless of the age, just start explaining to them, what this means, make them involved in one way or the other. It makes it interesting for them.
One other reason why one other reason why what you said is very important is because when I was working in the bank, we had a lot of high net worth clients, and we saw a lot of things happen then, where you see this family that had grown wealth, they pretty much had suffered to grow all that wealth and everything, and at the point where the patriarch of the business or the family was now maybe incapacitated and wasn't able to do much or had even passed on, you see the children come and just start to squander and so that's why the education is very important, to make sure the children are properly educated and trained in that regard. Because if you don't, then at the end of the day, it's fine for one member of the family to have built all that wealth, but it is better if all that wealth can be transferred from generation to generation to generation. So even those coming, like say the fifth generation, can also benefit from what the first generation, produced. So that's why it's critically important for children to be, taught early, trained in that area. Let them be involved somehow in understanding how the business goes, how to manage money and all that, so that when they eventually find themselves in control, where they are the ones to now control all that wealth, they would feel that sense of responsibility to make sure that they manage things properly, because they have a sense of duty to also pass it on.
Is kept.
They have a sense of duty, and that wealth also has to be passed on to the generations coming behind them.
I love that, because I was at an event, and in that, it was an intimate event I got invited to, and then the owner of Loblaws,
okay.
all these
Chains,
Shoppers Drug Mart,
yeah.
he was there.
Yep.
And then I went down a rabbit hole because it was a generational business.
Yes.
And I was down listening to a podcast where he said, even like as a kid, there was no like kids table, adults table. His dad would bring them to the table. So they learned a lot about the business.
Yes.
And he was able to even scale the business further. So it wasn't a thing of, he just was born in a rich family and all of that. When his dad passed the business to him, he was able to like actually grow the business further. And they just own a lot of wealth in Canada.
Absolutely.
I went down the rabbit hole. It's just interesting to see that they've actually sustained the business, because a lot of those businesses, like after I think there's a statistic that says it doesn't go after the third generation or something like that, but theirs is like they're going down that line. So that's really interesting. Let's talk about like even strategic wealth.
Yes.
I know I've not spoken about real estate, guys. Aside from like business acquisition,
real estate.
these two people have also been buying real estate, not just even in Ontario, other provinces in Canada, then the States.
In the States.
Just talk about real estate. Like, why real estate?
Okay, so
why did you even go to the States as well?
Yes, good question. So real estate is an asset class that plays a huge role in also helping you build generational wealth. The only problem is that there's this misconception that a lot of people have, that once you just own real estate, then you're good. It doesn't work like that. So you remember I spoke about the difference between an asset and a liability.
Yes.
So, and the problem is that a lot of people do not treat real estate with a business mindset. So they just feel, maybe because our parents also, mentioned our parents also owned some real estate back in the day, and then, so it's the normal thing to do, just to own real estate. So, but contrary to that, people don't look at or treat real estate with a business mindset. So if you're buying real estate, you need to run your numbers very carefully. Run your numbers very, very carefully. It's not just about the interest you're paying on your mortgage. There are a whole lot of other expenses that are attached to real estate. There's insurance, there's property taxes, there's repairs and maintenance, capital repairs and all that stuff. for some reason, people tend to just focus on the interest expense only. I don't know. I don't understand why, but people just focus on that as if the others don't exist, right? So for us, we started to look at real estate from that angle. And we felt if you're to treat real estate as a business, then it's about the return on the returns on that investment, right?
Yes.
Any business, not just real estate, right? Any business, if you're doing any kind of business, you're interested in your return on your investment. So we started to look at real estate from that angle. And the more we looked at it from that angle, we started to see that the price point is very, very important. The price point at which you go into it is very, very important. If you buy it at an expensive price, it's going to be almost impossible to get a positive return on your investment.
Right.
You are most likely going to be negative on that investment. And that's where running your numbers plays a huge role. I can bet you a lot of people don't run any numbers. They just say, oh, it's how much is it? Whatever the price is. It has 2 beds, 3 baths. My salary can take care of the mortgage. Yeah. I'm good. No. I am also one of those proponents of the fact that a house you just live in is not truly an asset.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
You have to deliberately turn it to an asset before it can be a real asset. So there was this post I put up recently, the one I was talking about, a child and all that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Oh, you can even bring it
up. At the end, I sounded a note of caution at the end of that post. Because I know people can just take it literally. And I said, please ensure that it is a real asset. I'm not talking about real estate in the loose form as an asset. I'm talking about real estate as a real asset where it is putting money in your pocket. And so meaning it has to be cash flow positive, right? And the more we looked at real estate like that, the more we realized that it doesn't make any sense to play in a market that is expensive, since our focus is on return on investment.
Yes.
So that's how we started looking outward. You know, the other provinces we looked at property prices were cheaper, although that was then. Now, even in those places, the property prices have gone up. But what we also see is that because of the way Canada is wired, population-wise, we understand why it's like that. We sort of have an understanding. And that was what also led us to the US. Because we felt in the US, there are more people, more opportunities, which also meant that property prices were also cheaper. And because our number one focus was cash flow. We're not really, really interested in equity. Because we know it's a big thing for a lot of people. People justify making investments in real estate, even without running their numbers properly, on the basis of, there'll be equity. But I think it's the wrong way to look at it.
I think a lot of them have, a lot of people have realized.
Yeah, it's the wrong way to look at it. So our priority is not even equity.
Yeah.
To appreciate, we don't even care about that. Our priority is cash flow. What is every month? How much is it put in? Consistent cash flow. How much is it put in our pocket? Because that is the real return on investment, right? If along the way, the appreciation, whatever comes, that's fine. It's just a cherry.
Yeah,
it's a bonus. It's a bonus. And the states afforded that opportunity for us. Right. You can literally buy properties in the state for a small fraction of what.
When I see the prices, I'm like 120.
When 120, 130.
And the cash flow is good.
Oh, the cash flow is good. Even if you finance the acquisition in the US and the interest rate is high, and I'm talking about an interest rate of close to 10%, because the property is cheap.
They're cheap, that's true.
You won't really necessarily feel it. So you find a lot of the most common type of and I'm going to mention some numbers here. You find a lot of, let's say, single family homes, 3 bed, 1 bath, 3 bed, 1.5, 2 bath in the US that you probably buy for, let's say, $150,000 US, which is not even up to 200,000 Canadian dollars. Yeah. And let's say you put a 30% or 20%, whatever it is, deposit, and you finance the rest, even at 10%, you probably rent that house out for, let's say, $1,300 to $1,500. Your mortgage is maybe $600.
True.
So it's cash flow positive. So it's a no-brainer. So I think people should just focus on what investment in real estate is going to put money in your pocket. As long as you can focus on that, you would then start looking for where you can find those kind of assets. And if where you are currently does not have inventory like that, then you have to go outside and look for it.
I like that. We're in the US.
So we focus on the Midwestern region of the US. It ranges from places like Indiana, Tennessee, Ohio. And, Michigan and so on. Because we choose to focus on that area, on those areas, because price points are manageable.
Yes.
Friendly.
So you said a lot of immigrants treat getting Canadian citizenship as the finish line, but you've treated it very differently, like you both. And it seems like now you've created a world of opportunities. I think it's through your real estate acquisition that you now have, is it the E2 visa? Tell me about it and why.
The E2 visa.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you remember when we started the program and I spoke about, you asked why we left Nigeria, what inspired that move? And I said, we typically don't like to be restricted.
Yeah.
We want to have access, right? So having run business in Canada for a while, and we're just very close to the US, right? We had also seen, and we were doing some real estate business in the US. We had also seen the opportunities in the US. So at some point I said to my wife, I think it's going to make a lot of sense if we can have access to the US, such that we can actually have access to everything the US offers. And then we started researching. We started researching and everything. And we eventually found the E2 visa option, which allows citizens of specific countries, Canada inclusive, to apply to the US government and say to the US government, I have a business I am operating in the US, but I want residency access to the US to move and live in the US if I want.
You necessarily do not.
You don't necessarily have to move or live in the US if you don't want.
Yeah.
But it comes with it, right? To move and live in the US to allow you to operate your business properly in the US. Now, what that does for you is that it opens up a whole new world of opportunities for you as a business person. Because not only do you have access to the Canadian market, you now have access to the biggest market in the world, which is the US market. Now, the requirements for an E2 visa is that you must have a business, an active business.
In the US.
In the US. Active, meaning it's not the
And
passive
can it be
business.
like real estate? Or
It can be real estate, but depending on the way you structure it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's not just about you owning one rental or two rental properties and just you're collecting and that's it. No, it has to be active. So it has to be structured in such a way that it's seen as an active business, right? And that's exactly what we did, because we had done some investments in the US. We have some real estate assets in the US, and we then structured it in that form and then used it as the basis for applying to the US government to grant us the E2 visa. So that was done. We started now, because you remember I said it is open to only certain citizens from certain countries. At the time, my wife was already a Canadian citizen, but I wasn't. Last year. So we would have done it earlier or gotten it earlier if not for the fact that I was waiting to become a citizen. So I became a citizen in, I think it was July last year.
Okay.
We started the process in August.
Immediately.
Yeah, we started the process in August last year. We submitted, because we're also busy doing other things. We really didn't pay so much attention to the document gathering stage. So, but eventually we put all the documents together and then we submitted it in December of 2025, towards Christmas. So people went for Christmas break, New Year. Then I think by middle of January of this year, we were invited for an interview at the US Embassy here in Toronto.
Okay.
And then our interview dates, the earliest date we could find was March the 3rd. And we went for the interview on March 3rd and it was approved. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Now, I want to say this to immigrants who come here and eventually become citizens here. I have seen this trend where immigrants feel that when they acquire the Canadian citizenship, it's like that is the end of the road. No, it is not. It is not the end of the road. It is not, you haven't arrived pretty much.
Yep.
I want immigrants to start seeing their Canadian citizenship status as the beginning of bigger opportunities globally. They shouldn't just see their Canadian citizenship status as something they should only use for vacation purposes. I mean, it's nice to go on vacation. You have access to different places you can go on vacation. That's fine. But start to look at it with a business mindset, right? You have just gotten something that allows you access to literally everywhere in the world.
Right.
Everywhere in the world. There's no way you can just look at it as just strictly on the basis of just vacation. No. In our own case, our Canadian citizenship status gave us access to the United States. And I've also seen other people who leveraged on their Canadian citizenship status to go for bigger opportunities. Now, it doesn't matter if it is here in Canada, it could be outside Canada, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether it's the States.
Middle East.
We also know somebody who, after they became a Canadian citizen here, got a job as an expatriate in Nigeria and went back to Nigeria as an expatriate. I'm sure you know it's different.
There's a difference.
There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. So let us begin to see our Canadian citizenship status as just the beginning, not the end. Because I can tell you, you are now a global citizen as a Canadian citizen. If you see big opportunities in Asia, exploit. If you see bigger opportunities in the States, exploit. If you see bigger opportunities even in Nigeria, exploit. Everywhere in the world, the opportunities. Start to see your status as a Canadian citizen in that light and look for those big opportunities. And I promise you, your mind, you'll be blown away at the opportunities that come your way.
I love that because same happened to me. Like because I came as an international student, so my only goal was the citizenship. As soon as I got there, I was like, now this is the next step. Like I need to now think about what I really want to do with my life. Before my life was like tailored towards getting my citizenship or getting a job with the NOC code and all that. I'm like now restrictions are gone.
All restrictions are gone.
And I can think globally. Like you mentioned, you're a global citizen now.
Yeah. That's why they say life is in phases and stages.
True.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I mean, it's the doors of the world has just been opened up to you. Anywhere you go, people see you in a different light.
Right.
So why not take advantage of it? So you see, I always talk about how to take advantage of things because there's a reason why you now have that. And please, it's not just for vacation. It's not just for vacation. It's not.
Like you worked hard so hard to get that passport. So it's not just for vacation.
It's not just for vacation. Yeah. Vacation should be like it's secondary.
Enjoy it on all
sides.
And you necessarily do not have to leave.
You don't have to.
If you don't, but just use that passport to gain access for yourself.
Oh yes. Access. It's extremely important. Ours is a true life story. It's and that's what we tell people now. That look, explore, especially for those who I know for people who have families, maybe young kids that have settled in. It might be a little different, but especially for those who haven't gotten to that stage yet, that are still very mobile, they can up and
like this is my time to like
just
explore.
up and just move.
I don't have to be living here to Canada.
Take full advantage of it. And you'll be glad you did. You'll be very, very glad you did.
Fred, you've said generational wealth planning should start the day a child is born.
Yes.
Suggesting that parents should probably buy their child a rental property from birth if they're able to. So walk me through that philosophy. What are your thoughts? Bimpe, do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, like I said in that post, right, if you read the narration underneath, it is a fantastic way to combine estate planning, financial education, and investment long-term in a solid asset. The reason why I think it's a fantastic way of putting your child ahead is that when the child is born, right, you know that from the day the child is born, I mean, the child has to go through so many things before it becomes a teenager and all that stuff. At the end of the day, you know the child, for most parents, they want their child to get a good education and all that stuff. So you start to plan for all that. So why real estate is important is, in that regard, is that the moment you buy the asset itself, you know why you bought it. It is for the child and to take care of everything that has to do with that child, especially as the child is approaching the age of majority, right? So you get the assets, you tie it to the number of years it's going to take the child to get to that age of maturity. So let's say 18 years or 21, whatever it is. So you put the mortgage on that to align with that number of years, right? You rent out the assets. The numbers have to work, remember. Numbers have to work. You rent out the assets. The tenant is paying you. It's cash flow positive. So the tenant is literally helping you pay down that asset. You're getting extra monies from it. The extra monies you get, you can either invest it in the child's RESP or whatever account, government account or whatever it is. So it's all going back to the child, right? And then as the years go by, you're paying down the mortgage, right? You're paying down the mortgage. By the time the child hits 18 or 19, typically that's when this child is getting ready to go to college, or if possible, the child has probably started college or whatever it is. Yeah. But by the time the child is hitting that age, your mortgage would have been almost zero at that point, because you put the mortgage to coincide with the number of years for it to take the child to reach age of majority, right? So what you find is that as the child is turning 18 or 21 or whatever it is, you have an asset that is literally almost paid off. It is still generating income. It probably would have appreciated, who knows? Yeah. All the excess monies you're getting after you've paid all the expenses is being invested in the child's RESP or whatever it is. And at that point, you're literally handing over a debt-free asset to the child. Do you know what that does for a child? You have set that child up you have pretty much put that child at a level or in a position where he or she is way ahead of a lot of his or her peers. And the child can then, from that point, decide what they want to do. You know, of course, based on all the training, you remember the training I spoke about. So hopefully the child keeps that asset. But if you do your homework properly and you train your child, you remember we're talking about how to train the child, when they let them know what money and all that stuff is all about, investing, savings. The child takes over the assets, and then it puts that child way ahead. The reason why I also say this is because I've seen that here in the West, when children are ready to go to school, people take student loans, OSAP, and all that stuff. I'm not really a fan
typical
of that.
Nigerian, like
really
that.
And the reason is because you find it's sort of some kind of burden on the child. Just when the child is starting off their life, they first of all have to deal with some loan. We don't want, we personally don't want that for our children. So, and that's why I put that post out there, because like I said, information is key, because I want people to know that, look, if you can, and these things just take little steps, one step today, one step tomorrow, and gradually, before you know it, you're building something big. And I think your child will be forever grateful.
Very grateful.
If you can set them up like that. Now, this is in addition to every other thing you're doing to set up your child, right? So it doesn't take anything away. It's just one avenue, one way you can set up your child, in addition to all other ways you can get it done. That's pretty much it.
I love this. To just wrap up, I have a few other questions, but to just wrap up,
there's so much.
Are there any other? No, I love this. Is what the podcast is about, and what what I like listening to, and what the audience likes listening to. So they would appreciate it. But do you have any final words, like anything on mind that you want to just like share with people, Bimpe and Fred?
Okay, ladies first.
Yeah. So I wanted to say this, that should you eventually acquire a business, always remember to be deliberate, to put structure in your business, just so you're also able, when you're ready, you're also able to sell that business
if you want.
If you want, and it's as profitable, for you. And just always remember, even if the business does not have that, they do have structure, but not, top notch. Make sure that you put top notch structure. Let the numbers speak. Let it be plain and clear, and be consistent. Just so if you decide you're retiring, or you're able to sell your business in a very profitable way.
So how can people connect with you? Like, they spent an hour plus with you both. Yes. I'm sure they would want to connect with you, support your businesses. How can people do that?
Okay, so for me, it's Bimse on Instagram, on TikTok. You could link my telephone number via the bio on my social media. Website is bimshead.com. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, you can find me on social media as well. Frederick Obodozie, one word, on Instagram. I'm pretty much on all social media platforms. And I believe the link.
Yeah, or
would
it
also
will
show-
be in the description.
In the description box,
as well
yeah.
as coach. Like if people want to
Yes,
acquire business.
yes. And I put my social media handles in the description box below. And if people want to reach me, you can reach me on 647-893-2901. info@econovacapital.com. That's info@econovacapital.com. You can also find me on www.econovacapital.com.
You also forgot to mention the consulting, because I know you
Yes.
help people acquire businesses, because
Yes.
you've done that.
Yes.
with multiple
Yes.
businesses.
So we help based on all the experience, knowledge, and all the everything that it comes with. So now we help other people to search for, identify, review, analyze, and ultimately acquire existing businesses here in Canada and in the US as well. We also help people when it comes to advisory services, when it comes to real estate acquisition here in Canada and in the US as well. And we also offer coaching and mentoring, where some people are not yet ready. They want to acquire businesses, they want to acquire real estate, but by the time you talk to them, you see that they're still not there. So we offer coaching, mentoring, just to provide some kind of level of guidance and prepare them, so that when they're comfortable, they can then pull the trigger with regard to acquiring businesses or acquiring real estate here in Canada or in the US.
I love that. I'm going to reach out to you both soon, because I'm really thinking of acquiring an existing business.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching, and thanks for being here, Bimpe and Fred.
You're welcome.
Thanks
very
for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a follow and a 5-star rating. Thank you.